Okay, so right here we have a ginkgo biloba seed and a cycad seed. Now, ginkgos and cycads are actually very, very distantly related. Ginkgo trees are in their own genus, family, order, class, and phylum, and cycads are also in their own distinct genus, family, order, class, and phylum as well. However, before phylum, they actually do share some evolution. They do share an evolutionary ancestor, and they're both gymnosperms. They both produce motile sperm, and they both have male and female cones, and they both have, we call them fruits, but they're actually not. So this right here is what we would call a cycad fruit, but scientifically speaking, it's actually not technically a fruit. This whole thing is technically considered a seed because it doesn't form in an ovary. It forms, in a cone. So this is the outer layer that we call a fruit is actually a sarcotesta. So that's actually what we call a fruit, and it serves a similar function in that an animal will hopefully eat the soft, fleshy layer, and then poop out the harder inside part of the seed. This part right here that I got out of this thing right here. This is the inner seed, but technically, this whole thing is actually considered to be a seed, and not a fruit. And the same thing is true with ginkgos. So they both have that trait, which is unique to them. They both have a sarcotesta. And anyway, so yeah, so they both share an evolutionary ancestor. And basically, as I was saying, ginkgos and cycads are more closely related to each other than they are to any other plant family or order or class or anything. Ginkgos and cycads are more closely related to each other than they are to anything else. So, like I said, they share motile sperm. They have male and female cones. They both have the sarcotesta seed coating, and they're very similar in a lot of ways. Now, they are also different in a lot of ways. Like ginkgo leaves, they look very different than cycad leaves. Cycad leaves look usually a little bit more like needles, or they're kind of skinnier, narrower. And cycads tend to look like palm trees, but they're not related to palm trees in any way. They just kind of look similar. Both are considered living fossils, which is interesting because both are, like I said, ancient plants. Both of these plants were around when the dinosaurs were around, and haven't changed very much since then. They do have some similarities, like I was saying. Like one of those similarities is that they both have leathery leaves, which is pretty interesting. But again, they do have a lot of differences. Like cycads, they look a lot more like, palm trees, and ginkgo trees look a lot more like, I guess they're still very unique, but I guess more like a normal tree, I guess. So there's still lots of differences. Like if you saw them, you would go, how are those related? But they are slightly, barely related. Like I said, they're more closely related to each other than they are to any other living plant. So any other living plant family or order or anything like that. So yeah, it's very interesting. And you can see this ginkgo seed does look very similar to the cycad seed. My lighting's not very good, I apologize for that. But you can see they do look very similar. They both have this pointy thing. They're both woody. Let's see if I can get to focus a little better, but yeah, you can see they do look pretty similar. This one's maybe a little darker than the ginkgo seed is. But yeah, they do have a lot of similarities, which is very interesting. That they're so evolutionarily distant to each other, but yet they're still the closest living relatives to each other. It's very interesting. And they still share, like I said, some similarities, but they're also different in a lot of ways as well. Although, interestingly, cycads tend to grow pretty slow. Ginkgos also grow kind of slow. They grow faster than cycads for sure, but still, they're not the fastest growing tree. They're like a medium pace growing tree. So I guess they kind of both grow slow, so that's maybe one similarity, generally speaking. And like I said, they both have leathery leaves. But anyway, I hope you guys learned something from that, and yeah.